Hello and welcome back to Kuze's Corner. This one's going to be somewhat of a special review. It's for a program that you use outside of SWTOR to give you a little help in reminding you of a few things. But instead of going over this again, I'm going to reuse a little bit of the review that I did on UtiniCast, and we'll just let it roll. Welcome back, Utinians and Utiniites, whatever we call ourselves, to a special edition of Kuze's Corner. This segment will be a review of a new program that's out there that will enhance our gameplay. The new program is called MSE-6. MSE-6 is an add-on that uses the combat log to assist a player with ability awareness and in some cases impending doom. MSE-6 reads the combat log and can be used to track any ability that is reported in the combat log. What does this mean? Well, just think of all those dots and hots you have to worry about applying or removing multiple times over and over again. Don't get me started. Maybe you have an ability that you know you should use more, but it always seems to slip your mind somehow. Well then, MSE-6 is the program for you. MSE-6 runs outside of SWTOR, updating you by audible tones when a designated action has been completed. There will be some setup and configuration on your part, but the developer designed the program to make this as easy and painless as possible. With that said, let's get into the program. First thing you want to do is visit the website, and you should be able to see the link at the top of the screen there in the address bar. Once you get there, there's a quick tutorial page that you can review first before downloading. Then we can go up and click on download. And you notice here that he keeps the previous revision and the current revision there. So best bet, just go ahead and download the current revision, of course. And after doing so, you go through the normal setup process, and it kind of steps you through it. It's pretty easy, simple, and it's a really lightweight program. Once installed, you'll get a cute little icon in your desktop to click on, so go ahead and click on it. Once opening, you'll notice that you have pre-populated abilities already, but we'll go over those a little bit later. First, let's go over our tabs at the top. We have Add, File, Options, and System, and we'll use those in a little bit more detail later as well, but most of them are self-explanatory. And under System, you'll notice that there's a stop. If during your gameplay you want to stop it and not hear the audible tones anymore, you can stop it without closing the program and reopen it. System info gives you a quick link to the MSE website, and also it gives you a quick link to SWTOR.com and also the latest revision number. Let's start going over groups and abilities. You can only have basically two tiers, a group and then its subset of abilities. You can name these groups anything you want, you can name the abilities anything you want, but you have to stay within the restrictions of the combat log for exactly what the abilities do. If you notice here, I'm cycling through and I'm turning off certain abilities and leaving some on. And if you notice, it leaves a dash in the group box there, and that just lets you know that some of the abilities are turned off if you have them minimized. And you can turn all the abilities on, or you can turn them all off just by checking in the parent group box. Now let's do a quick review of the filters. Basically, the filters are the rules for an ability that determine how you get your sound notification back. First thing you're going to look at is ability, of course, to give the name of the ability. Next is going to be a drop-down box. This drop-down box will tell you to specify the ability a little bit more. Maybe it's damage, heal. If you're using an AoE ability, you should use activate ability. This will allow for you to only get one sound back instead of multiples. Next is source, of course. Where's the spell or damage coming from? Target, who is it doing damage to or placing dots on? Some of this stuff is somewhat self-explanatory. As you can see, if you have active combat log, there will be names in there, and you can add in people if you want to specify a certain target by name. Next, we're going to do time on apply, when ability is actually applied. Maybe when it's removed. If you're going to do a hot or dot, you'll want to know when it's removed. Next we have our sounds, and you can choose from a few different sounds here at the bottom. And sorry it's cut off, it's just the way the video recorded. Next we have the delay option. If you have a cooldown ability, and you want to set it to a certain time to prompt you after ability has been activated, you can do so. And if you use the up and down arrows, it actually moves in 0.5 of a second per click. Otherwise, you can just specify the exact time that you want to put in there. Now we're going to add a new group. You can do this multiple ways. You can either click on the Add tab at the top and click New Group, or you can right-click anywhere inside the window and it brings up an option box and you can add it in there. We just added the commando here. Now let's add some new abilities. And again, you can do this different ways. Let's go ahead and click on abilities. Oh no, there's nothing there. Alright, this is because I have no active combat log currently that MSE-6 is reading. So what we're going to have to do is, we're going to have to create a combat log, and we'll show you how that's done. Okay, what we need to do is log into SWTOR. You're going to choose your character that you want to create the abilities for. You're going to log in, head to your ship. You're going to click on your menu, then you're going to click on preferences. You're going to go to combat logging. Once in combat logging, you're going to go to enable combat logging file. You're going to make sure that's clicked on, highlighted. You're going to hit apply, then OK. Now that we have the combat logging enabled, we're going to go ahead and create our combat log. What we're going to do here is we're going to use our target dummy on our ships. If you don't have one, I suggest that you get one. It's not only good for creating combat logs, but also checking your damage, your healing output, and all that good stuff. So sometimes this can be a pain if the target dummy keeps reverting back to a neutral state. Sometimes your abilities won't count or be added to the combat log if the target dummy is not actually active. So you want to try to keep the target dummy as active as possible. What you're going to be doing during this time is throwing dots at it, throwing hots on yourself, removing hots off of yourself because you're going to need the add and remove of certain abilities. You're going to run through basically anything that you're going to want to track inside MSE-6. For certain things like NPCs doing dots and damage to you, you're just going to have to grab that during a ops fight or your next run through flashpoints, PvP, or whatever you're going to use MSE-6 for. Now that we have a combat log created, we can add our abilities. You can either right-click to get to the menu, or you can go to the Add tab at the top. Once we get into our ability page, you'll notice that there's a search and last combat and a search by name. The search and last combat, if you select an ability inside this page here, it will actually pre-populate the filters based on the selection you made and how it was used inside the combat log. Next is search by name, and if you select it, it will just add the generic default filters at the bottom. So first let's select concussion charge, and we'll just go ahead and do the generic version of that. Next we'll select our trauma probe, and we'll actually go ahead and use one out of the last combat log page, and we'll try to get it to pre-populate some of the filters down at the bottom. As you can see here, these columns actually mirror the filters on the other page exactly. What this does is allows you to see how the combat log is actually reporting these filters, and you can more accurately select the ability that you want and how it was used to help pre-populate some of those filters. And for the last one, we'll do the back to infusion. You can see here I can select out of the last combat log if I want to, but let's just go ahead and search by name. And we're going to go ahead and set these filters ourselves anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The last thing that we need to do is go down to our filters at the bottom and adjust and tweak them a little bit. First we have ability. Of course, it's the ability that you're using, and it's associated with the drop-down box. This drop-down box will actually give you a few selections of basically how the ability is used. Sometimes the ability has multiple functions like damage, healing, knockbacks, channeled cast, things of this nature. And this box will be pre-populated based on your combat log. For all AoE abilities, you want to make sure that you select Activate Ability. If you select something else, MSE-6 will actually give you multiple reports back because it's trying to pick up how many times that the AoE damage hit multiple targets. So what you want is just Activate Ability, and that way you only get one notification back. Next we have Source, where the ability is actually coming from. Is it coming from myself, my character? Is it coming from another player? Is it coming from an NPC? You can set it to everyone, or you can select Customize and you can actually specify an exact target. Next we go to Target, who the ability is being applied to. It could be either be yourself, of course, player, NPC, everyone, and custom. Next is time. You can select on apply, on remove, or every time. If you're unsure, you can leave it on every time and always adjust it later on after you do your practice. Now we're going to have our sound. Again, sorry this is cut off during the video, but there's actually a few more sounds here than what you can actually see. We're going to go ahead and set up our delay time. As you can see from my tooltip in game, it actually shows a cooldown of 30 seconds. We're going to go ahead and set the delay timer for 29.5. The 0.5 of a second will actually account for some of the delay in the game, and you can adjust this as needed based on your abilities and your lag time. Trauma probe. First off, I don't quite like the name of trauma probe. Luckily, MSE-6 will allow you to rename the ability without actually affecting the ability in any way. So let's go ahead and rename it to trauma probe, and we'll say heal Kuze. Now for the drop-down selection on ability. Since this is a single function ability, I'm just going to go ahead and select whatever. That's normally what I default to, and you can always change it up later on if need be. Source is going to be myself, of course, because I'm the one that's casting. Target, I could do myself since it's named heal Kuze, but we're going to go ahead and use the custom function, and we're going to open it up, select Kuze, and just double click as always, and there you go. For time, we're going to go ahead and select on remove, because this is a hot and I need to be notified when it's actually removed from my target so I can reapply. Same thing would go for dots. We'll go ahead and select sound, and there's no need for the delay timer because we want to be notified when it's actually removed. Last but not least, we're going to do back to infusion. We're going to go down here and select our ability drop down. Again, we're going to go ahead and leave this on whatever. Technically we could put it on heal, but we can always change this during testing. Source is going to be myself. Target is going to be everyone, because I want to know anytime that I use this ability on anybody or anything, it will prompt me when my cooldown is complete. Time, I could use on apply, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with every time, and again I can adjust this during testing if I don't get the results that I want. And go ahead and select my sound again, and let's look at that tooltip so we can see what to set our delay time to. It shows 18 seconds, but we know there's a slight delay, so we're going to go ahead and set it to 17.5. With our abilities and filters set up, it's time to go test them out on the target dummy. During this testing video, I'm going to be using trauma probe first, and you'll be able to actually see me apply it to myself, and then I'm going to physically right click on it and remove it so I can trigger the notification. Next will be my back to infusion, and I've cut out some of the video to skip some of the cooldown timer, and I'll do that twice. After that will be the concussion charge, and finally I'll trigger them all at the same time just so you can see that MSE-6 doesn't overlay sounds that actually play them one right after another, even if they go off at the same time. With your abilities tested and proven, you are now ready for those ops, PvP matches, and whatever else you find yourself getting into. Ultimately, this tutorial has only shown a few instances what MSE-6 can really do. It is only limited by the combat log and your imagination. Even if you only use MSE-6 for that one ability that drives you crazy that you don't have to worry about anymore. It's well worth the download, fun to use, and very lightweight. Works well with my other programs. I normally have Mumble running and Parsec at the same time that I have MSE-6 running, and I never run across any issues as far as lag, hang-ups. The programmer has been very active in fixing any bugs if there are. He has a bug report page on the website that you can click on and report anything that you find. and he's actually pretty fast at fixing things. It's kind of amazing sometimes. The program's come a long way. I'm glad to be part of it, and I can't wait to see what else comes out in the future. Please post any questions and comments you have. I'll try to get to you as soon as I can. As always, I thank you guys for watching, and see you in game. If you would like to hear that full review that I did on UtiniCast, go ahead and please visit utinicast.com and listen to episode 112.